All right, what do you say? Let's get things kicked off. Today's presentation, make $31,000 a month as a bedroom producer selling music online. And you're going to discover how I was able to turn my passion into a living by selling my music on the internet. All right, guys. So by showing up today, you've absolutely made the right decision. We all kind of have this cliche image in our head of the starving musician. Everybody knows how hard it can be to turn your passion for music into a living. And listen, I know, guys, I've been there too. So I know how hard it can be, but it doesn't have to be that way, okay? It's all just about the knowledge you have and the network that you build. And you can definitely turn your passion for music into a living. It's absolutely doable. And you've made the right decision showing up today because basically you're going to discover exactly how you can turn your passion for music into a living. I'm also going to teach you how to monetize your music, and you're going to learn from me how to step up your music production quality. Sound good? Okay, just a really quick brief introduction for those guys who missed me earlier, who just showed up into the live room. My name is Anno Domini, and I'm the head of a multi-platinum team of 11 professional music producers. And collectively, we're called Anno Domini Nation. And throughout my sort of 12 or 13-year career in the music industry, I've made beats for a lot of big-time artists, people like Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Tech Nine, Wu-Tang Clan, and so on. And many renowned brands as well, such as Coca-Cola, Adidas, MTV, even NATO and the NBA and NFL, BMW, and so on. We actually do a lot of work for TV shows, and we also do a lot of advertisements and things like that. So right now, in this moment, you can actually listen to our team's work in over 200 million song plays online. And you can listen to our music in the background of over 3 billion video views worth of videos. So that's definitely quite a sizable amount. You can hear our beats, even if you don't necessarily recognize them. You've probably heard them in a bunch of TV shows, YouTube channels, and on albums and singles and stuff like that. Now, just a quick notice. If you stay until the end of today's presentation, I've got something really cool for you guys, just as a little thank you for showing up today. So I'm actually going to be handing you guys a free gift at the end of the webinar, and it's the extremely dope 808 Source Pack by Jules Jaden. I'm going to be sending you guys the Contact Library and also the Wave Edition with the individual drum sounds. And if you guys don't know Jules Jaden, he's hands down one of the best drum creators in the entire music production game. And I use these drums all the time. So I want you guys to have them after the webinar presentation. So as well as gaining a lot of insight and knowledge, I want you guys to go away with something and hopefully feel inspired to make some new bangers. All right. So I hope you like that, and you're going to go away and make some awesome beats today. So real quick, just some webinar house rules, just so that everyone gets the most out of today's session. Please, no shameless self-promotion in the comment section during the actual webinar. That's definitely not what we all came here for today. And there is going to be networking opportunities after the event. So if you want to drop any kind of links or you want to network with people, then please save that for after the presentation. Also, if you have any kind of big questions, then please do keep them for the very end of the webinar, because it's really going to be difficult for me to try and cover all of the material and at the same time look at the comments and be answering questions. So I'm definitely going to take some time at the end of the webinar to answer any kind of questions you have. Don't worry about that. And the final rule, no negativity or trolling or hating. We're absolutely on this journey together, guys. And that's exactly what makes this music production community of ours so strong. All right. So let's cut straight to the chase. How do I make an average of $31,072 a month selling my music on the internet? And here's the first secret I'm going to reveal to you guys, first of all. It's going to be how to maximize your revenue from selling licenses. Now, for me personally, you might have visited my website before. It's annodominination.com. And today, this is the main way that I sell my personal music licenses over the internet. But back in the days, I definitely didn't have my own domain. I didn't have an expensive, fancy website. I was actually using various platforms to sell my music. And some of the biggest ones in the world right now are sites like beatstars.com and myflashstore.net, which is actually rebranding to Edit soon, I saw. And if you're more into production music, a lot of producers also sell on sites like audiojungle.net. So you absolutely don't need your own website. You don't have to drop a ton of cash to create something customized. You can use one of these platforms, which are really prolific and great sort of service platforms to sell and license music. So for me personally, way back in the day, I think I started selling music online in about 2004. And I actually started posting my music on a website called soundclick.com. So let me know if any of you guys have heard of SoundClick before, or maybe you even used it in the past. Give me a shout out if you discovered my page maybe back in the SoundClick days. Anyone? So just to let you know real quick, when it comes to SoundClick, if you're still on soundclick.com today in 2017, then I would absolutely urge you to consider the alternatives, because SoundClick, honestly, it wasn't built for music producers in mind, and it does not cater to their needs. It was actually built originally as a forum for rock and indie fans and stuff like that. And I think the reason that the website got taken over by music producers like it did kind of rubbed the owners the wrong way. And that also kind of explains why the moderators can be very strict and they often shut down accounts for no reason. For example, if you have multiple accounts or if you accidentally post a piece of music or a beat in the wrong genre. So that's obviously very risky for, you know, if you make SoundClick your main platform, to just be able to get shut down like that. Harold and David, I see you guys know SoundClick. Maybe you guys have had a page on there in the past. Max as well, and Nielsen sure did. That's cool, guys. Also, SoundClick isn't a great idea because you probably noticed, especially you guys who have been on the site before, that their customer service is really slow and unreliable. So if you send them an email about any kind of issue, it can take weeks before they reply. And also, the only way to really jump to the top of the SoundClick charts, where you start getting a lot of sales and a lot of visibility, is by buying their in-house promotion, which can be pretty pricey and very difficult to book because so many people are after it on a daily basis. It's also very easy for people to steal your music by stream ripping on SoundClick. They still haven't done anything to really address those issues of security. And most importantly, maybe the traffic has really been steadily declining over the past 5 years. And SoundClick is already being overtaken by other websites like BeatStars and by My Flash Store, which are really growing and exploding right now. And of course, if you've ever been to soundclick.com, you'll notice that the homepage looks like it's from like 1999 or something. It hasn't been updated in a really long time, and it doesn't really look like they're bothered to update it with any kind of new features. So what the question with music licensing really comes down to, if you're looking for a good platform, is whether you're going to choose BeatStars or My Flash Store, aka Airbit. And if it's a question of cost, it's virtually identical. There's a free tier on both of the websites where you can upload, I think, up to 10 beats just to try it out and start selling some of your music, just to see which one you like better, which one works for you. There's a more expensive tier then where you can sell and upload more beats for $9.99, where I believe both websites take a small commission from your sales as well. And then there's the completely unlimited producer option for $19.99 on both websites, where you can upload basically unlimited beats and just sell as much as you want and get the full benefit of the website. In terms of which one to choose, there are some sort of upsides and downsides to each one. I would say personally that BeatStars is a little bit more technologically advanced right now. It has way more features and customization, and they do roll out new developments very quickly. On the other hand, it can be kind of difficult to navigate, and it does have a steep learning curve, especially for beginner producers. So if you're just starting out selling beats, or if you've never used a platform like this before, it can be a little bit tricky. And because they roll out developments so quickly, sometimes the site is also glitchy and they have some errors. I know right now there's a couple of issues with one of their sort of widget players for selling your beats, for example. My Flash Store, on the other hand, is really easy to use and it's really great for beginners. So if you want to start selling beats quickly right now, My Flash Store is a good bet. It has a really stable environment because obviously the developments roll out a bit more slowly, but they make sure that everything works. Now, one cool thing about BeatStars is they just brought out their Pro Page 2, which is kind of a standalone store that you can have within their website. And you can even mask it by purchasing a domain, for example, from GoDaddy.com. So if your name is, for example, Super Producer, you could purchase www.superproducer.com, and you can mask it to be on the BeatStars page, but look like your own individual page. And it's super premium and high quality. They added a ton of really cool features, which really makes these pro pages stand out. On My Flash Store, I know they're soon rolling out with a bunch of developments when they rebrand to Airbit. And they have this new thing called the Shadow Store, which looks very cool. And it's going to be a lot more personalized and give you more options than they currently have too. When it comes to kind of uploading and hosting your files through the sites, you can actually upload both MP3 WAV files and the really big zip folders to BeatStars directly. Right now on my Flashstore, you can only upload MP3 and WAV files. So if you want to actually send out zip folders of, for example, individual stems to your customers, you have to host those externally right now. But I know that as soon as my Flashstore rolls out the new developments, you're also going to be able to host things directly through the cloud on their own site. Some more cool stuff about BeatStars is that they do have beat scheduling available, and my Flashstore will have this pretty soon too, which is pretty cool because it means you can basically schedule your releases for the entire week or month in advance. So you only have to spend, say, one day a week to actually schedule your new releases. You don't have to go and log on to the website every day to upload stuff. BeatStars also has a really strong social integration, and it has a real mix in the community of both artists and producers, whereas my Flashstore is much more concentrated to just producers as it is right now. And that's kind of cool because you can message each other, you can comment, you can follow each other, you can create playlists and stuff like that. Also, BeatStars has really in-depth sales statistics, and you have full disclosure of your customer data, which also you can get on my Flashstore, but right now the statistics are a little bit more limited. But fortunately, on both of those sites, you can actually extract the data. You can get all of the email addresses of your customers, and then you can, of course, market directly to them, even outside of the website. So that's very nice to have that kind of flexibility. One thing I really love about BeatStars is the fact that they have distribution services, which means that as well as licensing your music, you can enter your beats into, for example, YouTube's Content ID and SoundCloud monetization and stuff like that. And I'm actually going to be chatting to you guys a little bit more about that later on, how you can benefit from that and make revenue from that. Also, BeatStars host a ton of contests and events. For example, they were at South by Southwest recently. They held an entire house where producers were just coming to kind of hang out and collaborate and create beats, which was pretty cool. My Flashstore, I know they're teaming up with a couple of big players in the music production industry soon too, to offer more live events and things like that. Because again, it's music production, it has such a strong community vibe, and I think it's really great to embrace that and build bridges. One thing I really like about BeatStars too is that recently you can now sell drum kits and services and stuff like that through their site. So if you haven't yet, definitely check that out. All right, so just for a second, let's take a step backwards. And for those of you who maybe aren't that familiar with music licensing, I just wanted to break down for you how it exactly works. So let's imagine that somebody visits your music profile on BeatStars or on my Flashstore, or they go directly to your personal website if you have one. They basically listen to your music, they click through, hopefully they hear something that they really like, and they decide to buy it. Now, the way it works is that the system is going to automatically send your customers your MP3 file or your WAV file or zip or whatever it is they purchased to the order email address. And then, of course, the customer will receive that music file along with a license agreement, which gives them the legal right to use your music in their sort of songs or tracks, or as background music for their videos or whatever it is that they purchased it for. So for me personally, on my website, this is kind of the way I break down the various licenses that I offer for sale. The two main ones that I absolutely recommend every producer sells is the non-exclusive license and the exclusive license. And both of these are essentially mechanical licenses, which means they are geared towards artists who basically need your beats for their songs and stuff like that. So mechanical licenses are basically audio usage only, okay? The non-exclusive license, it tends to be the cheapest license, and it's called non-exclusive because basically you can license it to as many artists as you want. There's no limit on how many times you can sell the same beat or the same piece of music to as many customers as you wish. Now, some of you guys might know this kind of license as a lease. I know some people will call it non-exclusive, some people call it a lease, but it's basically the same thing. With the non-exclusive license as well, you can actually limit how many units that artists can sell of their songs once they purchase this. So for example, you might tell them that they can sell up to 1,000 units, which means they can basically sell 1,000 copies of their single or their album using your beat or something like that. For the exclusive license, on the other hand, this is obviously way more premium and expensive because you can only sell it to one single customer, okay? And then after that, it's marked as sold. So for artists, it's more desirable because they get something way more exclusive that's very limited. And there's not going to be a bunch of artists all around the world with the same beats on their albums and mixtapes. Then finally, the third license type, which a lot of producers actually ignore, is the sync license, which stands for synchronization. And this is mainly for advertisers, media professionals, and broadcasters and that kind of stuff. And the reason it's called a sync license or synchronization is because it's syncing your audio with a moving picture or some kind of visual element. Okay. So, for example, if your music gets used in the background of a TV show or in a movie or on a website or something like that. So it's a completely different target market. It's no longer necessarily the artist. It's more people who are looking for something for video usage. And I would definitely look into this if you're not currently selling a sync license, because you could be missing out on an entire huge part of the market for purchasing licenses online. All right, so that's all good and well about the process of licensing music, but how do you actually get people to buy your music in the first place? So the very first tip I would have for you guys is to try and tap into as many different target customer groups as you can. And the way you do that is, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, by separating your synchronization licenses from your mechanical licenses, and then also sort of separating those individual licenses even further into various subcategories. So that probably sounds kind of confusing, but let me just break it down for you, okay? So while you might have a non-exclusive license, you could also break that down further into a really cheap MP3 license, which would be the absolute cheapest. And with that particular kind of a license, which you might sell from anywhere to $10 to $20, the customer would only get the compressed MP3 file, and they might be limited to a very small number of sales units, for example, 500 or 1,000. And there you'd be kind of speaking to the hobby enthusiasts or the artists with very low budgets who don't necessarily have the money to purchase more expensive licenses. And then you could also separate your non-exclusive license into, for example, a more expensive WAV license, which of course is an uncompressed file format. So it's a bit more desirable and high quality. And you could also offer slightly more sales units. And that would speak to the more professional artists or the artists who really care about their sound quality and want that higher quality file, or who already plan on selling a few more units. So again, this is a different target consumer group. And then finally, also a non-exclusive, you could offer an unlimited license, where basically you'd be giving the MP3 and the WAV file, and also whoever purchases this particular license can sell unlimited units instead of, for example, just 1,000. And that is really for the high-end artists or the artists with bigger budgets who think their song is going to blow up, or maybe they have major label backing, or they just want the security of basically being covered in case their song does really well. So you already see there that the non-exclusive can be split into 3 separate distinct categories. The MP3 file, I actually sell mine for $17, but some people sell them from anywhere from 10 to 30. Then the higher end, the WAV non-exclusive, people sell them around 20 to $50. I sell mine for 27. And then for the unlimited license, usually people sell that for around 100 to $200. And then an additional step that you can also take to generate a little bit of extra money on top is to sell the trackouts. So for those of you who don't know, the trackouts are basically the individual instrumental stems of a beat broken down into separate files, and then you just zip them all together. So you would export all of your files on WAV format. That would be, for example, the kick drum, the snare drum, the hats, the bass, the piano, whatever else it is that you have in the beat. And then you would put them all together and you zip them up. And a lot of customers ask for that as an add-on. And you can charge anywhere from 30 to $100 extra for those really high-end artists who want to get their song mixed and mastered, or want to make edits and changes and stuff like that. So already you're making up to $100 extra for every single music license you sell, potentially. In the same way that we broke down the non-exclusive license, you can also break down the sync license into the sort of lower end hobby enthusiasts, or people who don't necessarily plan on using your beats in big broadcasts or anything like that. For example, they just want it for YouTube use or something like that. And you could sell that for cheaper, for targeting into that particular customer group within synchronization licensing. And then you could also offer a more expensive broadcast sync license for big TV shows and movies and websites and stuff like that, who are obviously going to be showing their videos to a bigger audience and have a bigger budget. And again, you'd be surprised how many synchronization license customers also want the option of being able to purchase the individual trackouts so they can make changes and edits and stuff like that. And then, of course, on the high end, the exclusive high-ticket license, which is the most desirable and you're going to get the most money for. But, obviously the exclusive sales are going to be minimal, at least in terms of volume, compared with how many non-exclusives and syncs you're selling. Because not every artist and not every company has a big budget And also, from my personal opinion, from just kind of the trends I've seen in the music industry, a lot of people are embracing more and more the idea of non-exclusive licensing. Not everyone is as super keen on just purchasing exclusives. So don't be worried about selling exclusives too much, because keeping hold of your beat and selling lots of non-exclusive licenses can actually be a lot more money in the long run for you anyway. All right, let's talk about a second way that you can increase the sale of your music, and that is visibility. And visibility of your music, if you're getting more and more people seeing your stuff, you're getting more and more eyeballs and clicks to your website, does translate to higher revenue. And one of the ways that you can get more visibility is, for example, through BeatStars and My Flash Store charts. And the higher you are in the charts, of course, you're going to show up on the homepage, and then the more people will click on your music. And it's just this kind of cyclical relationship where, the higher you are in the charts, the more sales you make. And again, the higher you can be in the charts. So getting high into the charts can be a big way to improve your visibility. And actually, you might have seen on my BeatStars and My Flash Store that the charts are based entirely around sales volume. So that's how many actual licenses you're selling. And this is exactly why a lot of producers offer crazy deals like, buy one, get 20 free or whatever it is, which seems to make no sense at all from a marketing standpoint. And actually, if you ask me, it looks kind of spammy and devalues your work. But on the other hand, if for every single person who just purchases one beat, you're actually technically making 20 sales in their system, then you have 20 times the chance for your beats to show up in the charts. Does that make sense? That's why, for example, on BeatStars, you see a lot of the exact same producers occupying, for example, place 1 to 15 in the charts instead of just, one single beat. So even though it looks spammy to me, I can understand the reason why producers do it. And maybe now you can sort of appreciate the thinking behind that kind of a strategy too. So whether you want to do that, it's entirely up to you. There's kind of upsides and downsides to that. Another way that you can get visibility is through paid promotion, particularly also through BeatStars and My Flash Store or SoundClick if you're old school like that. But again, it's highly competitive to even book these promotions in the first place. And in my personal opinion, and from my experience, it's really difficult to reach a good return on investment. So what I mean by return on investment is basically, if I'm spending $20 on advertising, then I need to get at least $20 back in additional profit in order for me to have broken even. And then anything beyond that is the sort of profitable return on investment. So for me, it's actually very hard to do that on BeatStars on My Flash Store with their paid promotions. And it's more of a long-term strategy if you do want to do that. It's more a matter of building your brand awareness. People see your name and they start maybe trusting your brand a little bit more as time progresses. So you're probably not going to see an instant boost in your sales necessarily. Now, what I prefer in terms of promotion is hands down having an email list. So from my experience, curating and growing an email list is the single biggest driver of revenue for music licensing, hands down. And the way that you set up an email list, if you guys don't have one yet, I would highly recommend setting one up. For example, you can use MailChimp.com. I think they let you create a free email list for up to 2,000 subscribers. And then what you do is you just add a little subscribe to my newsletter or subscribe to my email list button on your website or your social media page or wherever else. And ideally, you would offer something for free just to entice people to join your list. So it's really great to, for example, give away a free beat or give away, I don't know, a free drum kit or something like that for people to sign up to your list. Obviously, cater to your audience. So if you're primarily targeting producers, you want to give something away that speaks to them, like a drum kit. Whereas if you're mainly targeting artists and beat buyers, then you might want to give away a free beat or an ebook or something like that. Then next along in the sort of scale of promotion and advertising options that work best for me personally would be the Facebook ads. Have you guys ever used Facebook ads? Any of you ever paid Facebook for promoted posts or for targeted ads or anything like that? So the way it works is that you can actually set up an ad and you can target very specific customer groups, and you can even target people who like specific pages on Facebook. So you might want to look up where artists are hanging out, and then you can target them specifically with advertisements. So with Facebook ads, it's really easy to burn through cash. As I'm sure Artiful, he's used Facebook before, so I'm sure you know about this, man. David as well. Matthew says he's used Facebook ads. So it's actually very easy to burn through a lot of cash quickly if you don't know what you're doing. So I highly recommend researching your Facebook ad targeting and being very specific with who you try and reach on Facebook. Otherwise, if you're just doing a general post to everyone, chances are only a small percentage are even going to be interested, and therefore you're actually spending a lot of money reaching the wrong people. Another great way to get some extra visibility and sales is through YouTube ads. Personally, I prefer Facebook ads, but I know a ton of producers right now are killing it on YouTube. You probably see a bunch of these promoted videos popping up all over YouTube, and you can actually direct YouTube ads to be shown next to the videos of competitors and other beat selling videos and music videos and stuff like that. So again, you can be very, very targeted with how you're directing your visibility and how you're paying for more people and customers to come through. So in my opinion, Facebook ads better than YouTube ads, which in turn are better than Google AdWords. And by that, I just mean the sort of general Google ads that you can purchase to show up in the Google search results. By the way, if you guys don't know, Google owns YouTube. So actually, YouTube's ad system is very similar to Google AdWords. But in my opinion, it's very, very hard to not blow through a ton of cash and to actually get decent results on the Google search listings. But of course, if you want to, that's something you can research too. All right, so obviously a lot of these strategies cost money, but if you don't have a big budget, do not despair, because visibility does not have to be all that expensive to begin with. In fact, you can grow your visibility and you can have more and more traffic completely for free by building out your network. And by network, what I'm talking about is basically your social media profiles, your YouTube channel, your SoundCloud, and so on. Basically, the more platforms and the more websites that your music and your beats can be discoverable at, the better for you, because the more potential customers you can reach. So especially YouTube, which actually, if you guys didn't know, this is the single biggest repository for music in the world today, which means more people are discovering and searching for music on YouTube than anywhere else, even though it's a video website, right? So just think about that for a second. So if you're not on YouTube, you're missing out on the single biggest platform for music discovery in the world. So I highly recommend you set up a YouTube channel. Also, if you have the time, I would recommend that you get a SoundCloud profile. You definitely want a Facebook fan page, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else. I highly recommend that you try and be as reachable as possible and to upload your music to as many platforms as possible. So let me talk about YouTube for a second, because to me, this is hands down the most important way to generate revenue and to generate more traffic to your music licensing site. So for me, I actually started my YouTube channel about 6 years ago. It's youtube.com/Anno Domini Beats. Maybe some of you guys have seen it before. And basically, I just started uploading music and publishing content consistently on YouTube. And that is hands down one of the single most important things that you can do in order to grow your presence on YouTube. So organization and consistency are really key. And for me personally, right now, I have around 98,000 subscribers. I think at 100,000, they send you some kind of an award plaque. So I'm kind of stoked about that. I'll probably do a little announcement video. But yeah, obviously it didn't happen overnight. And it took me a while to figure out exactly how to play YouTube and how to make it work. And, since then, my subscribers have been growing exponentially. And to date, I think I have something like 35 million song plays on my personal page alone. So not even counting other people's uploads of my music. And like I said, it's absolutely one of the main ways that people find and also buy my music. So how do I do it then? How do I actually drive traffic from YouTube back to my site to sell licenses? Well, like I said, I regularly upload new material, and every single video or piece of music that I upload, I include a link in the description which sends people to the direct link of that beat on my website. And when you do this, you want to make absolutely sure that you put the link at the very top of the video description, because actually in the search results, when people click on your videos, they're only going to see about the first 2 or 3 lines of the video description without having to click on the little see more button or something like that. So you want to make it as easy as possible for people to know exactly where to go if they listen to your music and they're feeling it and they want to purchase it, okay? You don't want to send people on an Easter egg hunt to try and find how to buy something. You want to put it straight in their face so it's as easy as possible. And Just imagine, for example, I upload almost on a daily basis nowadays, and each video gets hundreds, sometimes even thousands or millions of views in some cases. And essentially, every single video that you upload to YouTube, it's like a lifelong employee because it's going to be searchable and discoverable forever. You know, I'm still getting the most views on some of my videos from stuff I uploaded 2 or 3 years ago, or even further back than that. Whereas if you make a post on Facebook or on Twitter or something like that, it's going to disappear within a day at the most. And then nobody's ever going to find a Facebook post you made 2 years ago anymore, right? So really, YouTube is awesome because the content is discoverable and searchable forever. So how do you blow up your YouTube channel? Let me just break that down for you guys real quick. First of all, you have to post regular content, and it's really great to adopt some kind of a regular posting schedule. So you start getting people on YouTube, especially your fans and subscribers, used to expecting new music from you on a certain date or a certain time. So for example, depending on how many beats you create, that could be 1 beat per day, or it could be 1 beat per week or something like that. And just make sure that you try and stick to the schedule as much as you can. Now, I know this can actually take up a lot of time, so one top tip from me would be to use a platform like tunes2tube.com, which is actually a really cool service where you can automatically schedule music to be released on YouTube and SoundCloud at the same time. So this is pretty awesome. Basically, you just upload a background picture and an MP3 file to tunes2tube.com. You select when you want it to be published, and then they upload it for you to your YouTube and SoundCloud channel automatically at the same time. Just 1 day a week, I just sit down, I upload 7 beats to tunes2tube.com, and I schedule them to be released one every single day, first thing in the morning. And then that's my scheduling done for the whole week. Super easy. Secondly, how to blow up your YouTube channel is you must use keyword phrases in your video uploads. And there's 3 main areas that you can do that, which is the video title, it's the video description, and it's the video tags. And when I say keyword phrase, what I'm talking about is basically a combination of words or some kind of a phrase which is likely to be searched by people on YouTube. Okay? So that would, for example, be dark rap beat or Wiz Khalifa type beat or Wu-Tang Clan beat or something like that. You guys know what I'm saying. And generally, there's 3 different ways that you can go about this. You can create a type key phrase, which is, for example, a Wiz Khalifa type beat or Rick Ross type beat. Basically some kind of an artist which is popular and that people would be searching for. There's also a genre-based keyword phrase, which is, for example, let's say R&B beat or trap soul beat or dirty South beat or something like that. And then finally, you have the mood-based keyword phrases, which are, for example, sad beat or happy beat or inspiring beat or something like that. And the way I wrote them down here is actually in order of how well they perform on YouTube right now. So most people are searching by type beats, and then followed by genre beats, and then finally the mood beats. But obviously, the more popular the keyword phrase is that you select, the more competition there's going to be. So do try and work out some more quirky ones, something like, I don't know, dark Wiz Khalifa type piano beat or something like that. More of an extended keyword. You guys know what I mean, right? So make sure that you repeat that exact same keyword phrase in both the video title, in the description, and in the tags. And try and put it as far forward as you can in each of those, because YouTube's search algorithm actually places emphasis on whatever you write first more prominently. So if it's a Wiz Khalifa type beat, then the video title might be Wiz Khalifa type beat, and then dash, and then you would put the actual name of the beat. And likewise, you would repeat that again in the description and the tags underneath. Without it, obviously, sounding spammy and scammy, because Google or YouTube are very good at sort of finding spam content and then penalizing you for that. So just try and make it sound natural while still repeating yourself. Another really high tip which I could give you guys is to use quality background images, or maybe even video visualizers if you have the time to set those up. Because the way it works is when somebody searches through YouTube, the first thing they're going to see is the thumbnail. So if you have a really crappy background image, like maybe just a black canvas or just some basic text, then it's very unlikely that you're going to get a lot of people clicking on it. So you really want to have something visually arresting that's going to capture their imagination, is going to serve as clickbait for them to basically have to click on your video to find out what it's all about. And it really just captures the imagination of the artist as well. Another thing you can really experiment and play around with as well as the annotations and the cards, which are both available inside your YouTube Creator Studio. And these are basically YouTube's way of you embedding external links inside your videos. So you can actually have an annotation or a card inside your video, which is going to, for example, link to your music licensing website or your social media profile, whatever else it is, so you can directly divert traffic to those sites. So that's highly useful and something you can definitely play around with. Another top tip from me is to engage with your audience. And what I mean by that is basically you need to create a dialogue with your fans and your community. So don't necessarily just post beats on a daily basis or music on a daily basis. What they really want is for you to grow your brand and to give them a bit more background story and to give them a reason to follow you. You know, a lot of people don't necessarily just follow artists because of the music, but they follow artists because of their story, okay? So you want to create a story, you want to grow your brand by doing things like behind the scenes videos or beat making videos or video blogs or something like that. And if you're a little bit camera shy, or you're not really into recording yourself, you can also just do like a screen sharing video, or even you can do a video without any kind of audio, just you sort of creating a beat or something like that. So any of that is appreciated by your fans. Also, you can definitely grow your YouTube very quickly by networking with big YouTubers and sort of other big online personalities through, for example, cross collaborations, like creating a beat together with a big producer who has a huge YouTube channel. And then, of course, they're going to post it on their channel as well as you on yours. And hopefully they link back to your channel. And you can also maybe give your music for free to some YouTubers for them to basically use it as background music. And again, just adding a link to your channel, for example, in their video description. So that can be a great way to really boost and grow your YouTube subscribers very quickly and substantially. And then finally, if you haven't yet, I would highly recommend checking out YouTube's own programs for content creators. They're all available, again, inside your YouTube account, and they actually have some pretty cool information and videos to help you blow up your YouTube channels. All right, so what difference does it actually make having a big YouTube channel? And I'd love to kind of break it down for you guys and just do a little bit of math. I promise it's very simple math. And let's just figure out exactly what kind of a difference having a YouTube video that is doing well does. So let's imagine, for example, you upload a beat and every video that you upload gets something like 1,000 views, okay? Over the period of however many months. And then let's imagine that just 10 people, so about 1% of the people who watch the video actually go to your website and they buy a license for $17. So that means that basically for one single video upload you made to YouTube, you can generate $170. That's pretty sweet, right? But what if you get even more views? What if your YouTube is really popping off, it's blowing up, you're getting lots and lots of traffic and viewers? So let's imagine that your video gets 10,000 views, okay? So again, let's just imagine conservatively that 100 people buy a license who listen to this beat and they love it and they want to purchase it. And again, you're selling a license at the very low end, the most basic MP3 license for $17. So then all of a sudden we're talking about $1,700 for every single video that you're uploading. Not too bad, right? So what I'm saying basically is that it's all about building a portfolio of music that's streamable and it's discoverable online on sites like YouTube. And basically it's a numbers game, you know? The more music that you're uploading, the more you can potentially earn. And the more views that every single video is getting you, the more you can earn again. And of course, the more views that you have, the more people are licensing your music, are discovering it, are sharing it. And it's kind of like a snowball in the sense that, you know, you're constantly growing more and more viewers, getting more and more sales, and your brand is constantly building over time. So just to kind of demonstrate to you guys the power of this kind of method, I wanted to just put together a couple of screenshots from my personal income. Not to brag, obviously, but just to show you guys really what's possible by licensing music. And on the far left there, what I did is I took a screenshot from my PayPal account. And to be completely honest with you, this was like one of my very, very best months. This was in August last year. But as you can see, in just one single month, I made $89,929, all just from licensing my music online. Not too bad, right? You can see some of those days there, I had sort of $17,000, $20,000, even $24,000 in a single day. So that's the power of this kind of a method of licensing online and having your brand and your viewers grow over time. And of course, PayPal is just one of the ways that we take payments. We also offer people the option to check out with credit card, and we actually use Stripe for that. So in the middle there, I've got a screenshot of my Stripe account, where again, in just over a period of a year or something like that, we've already generated over $300,000 from Stripe payments. So something like 5,000 new customers over that period, all spending money with us. And then on the far right there, I took a little screenshot from my CD Baby account, because as well as licensing individual beats, what I sometimes like to do as well is to bundle them together and sell them as instrumental albums or packages. And again, tapping into a different consumer group by, for example, selling them to just music listeners on iTunes and Amazon and stuff like that. And by just doing that, by taking the exact same music that I've already created and just bundling it up into packages and offering it to a new consumer group, that's made us something like $47,000 already to date. So you can see, as long as you're creative and you work hard and you're constantly updating and uploading new music, your revenue will absolutely snowball over time. Okay, so let's talk about secret number 2 now. So far, we've talked about how you can actively create music and sell the licenses. But how about making passive income with your music? So one of the ways that you can create passive income from your music is by actually giving away free music, which sounds kind of stupid, right? But just bear with me for a second, all right? I'm going to explain. Basically, what I'm telling you guys is that you don't even have to sell or license your music at all to monetize it. You can actually earn a lot of revenue just from streaming your music, for example, on Spotify or internet radio stations like Pandora, or just uploading your stuff on SoundCloud and YouTube. So what that means basically is that even if people are downloading your music for free, and maybe they use it for non-commercial purposes in their songs or their videos or trailers or whatever it is, you can still make money, first of all, actively with advertising on your own uploads, and also passively through the uploads of other people with programs like YouTube's Content ID. So what I'm saying is that basically all the music you create, as well as the active income, it can be generating you passive income that you don't have to do any extra work for. It's just additional income on top of what you're already making. All right. So basically, for example, every time that someone uses your music in a YouTube video, you can get money paid out to you. And the way it works is that basically ads are showing up sort of inside the video, either before the credits or after the credits, or sometimes even posted next to the actual physical video box. But you're making all the money from those advertisements. So for me personally, yes, I do give away music for free, absolutely. And I would recommend that you do the same. A lot of producers, they see this, that I give away 100 of our very best beats for free to artists, and they think I'm absolutely crazy. But maybe by understanding the passive income principle a bit better, you're going to start to appreciate why I do that, okay? It's kind of a win-win situation in a way, because I'm giving away free music to artists, and they can take that music, they can record their songs, they can grow their fan base by having great beats and great sounding tracks. And I, on the other hand, get to keep the passive income from the advertising revenue. Because when you're giving out music free for nonprofit use, what it means is that you retain the rights to monetize the beats. So when an artist records on your free beat, he uploads it to YouTube, he can, make great music for his fans and grow his fan base, but you get to keep the money from the advertising that's being shown. So I think that's pretty much a fair deal. And of course, additionally to that, I'm getting that artist's email because they need to subscribe to my email list in order to download the free beats. So it's kind of 2 ways that you can benefit right there. So what it comes down to then basically is that free music is actually the same as saying you're getting more passive income. So through processes like YouTube's Content ID, which you can subscribe to, for example, through BeatStars, they actually have a Content ID program, but also through Rumblefish and InGrooves and CD Baby and stuff like that, you can actually start making money right now from streaming and advertising and stuff like that. So just to break it down, how does it actually work? Just to kind of simplify things a little bit, let me break it down one more time. So let's imagine that somebody, and it doesn't necessarily have to be you, but anyone at all, uploads a video and it contains your music. Okay, so that could be, for example, an artist who recorded a free song on your beat, or it could be a video maker who's using a beat as a background song for his video of, I don't know, dogs running around in the grass and looking cute or whatever it is. Then what happens is that ads are going to be automatically shown inside the video or next to the video when it's uploaded. And YouTube's system basically fingerprints that music and links it to the original copyright creator, which is you, and you then get paid 100% of the ad revenue. So what this means is that basically your income is continuously growing over time. And the more your brand grows and the more people that start to use your music in their songs and their videos and so on, the more ad revenue you're going to get paid every single month. And of course, the beauty of that is that it's 100% passive income, because you're already creating the music to be licensed, and then it's just sort of looking after itself and creating you more money by literally just uploading it to YouTube or to SoundCloud or whatever, or giving it out to people to use for free. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to sell anything to make money with this kind of a method. And it keeps growing over time. Pretty sweet, right? So just to give you an example of what kind of income you can expect to achieve with YouTube's Content ID program. We've obviously been on YouTube for a long time, so this has kind of been growing over several months and years. But for example, one of our best months that we had last year in June, we made $4,492 just from this kind of passive income method. So that's completely additional income to all of the sort of revenue we get from licensing. Completely extra free added income that you don't have to do any additional work for. And the way it breaks down basically is that most of that is coming from YouTube Content ID, but a little bit of income is also coming from Sound Exchange and Spotify streaming and SoundCloud advertising and stuff like that. So this is actually a snapshot from within my BeatStars account, which I use for distribution. And again, of course, there's many other options that you can do for distribution too, but BeatStars is super practical and easy to use. And by the way, in case you're wondering why I took a snapshot of June last year, it's because advertising revenue does fluctuate a little bit on YouTube. And you'll probably find that advertisers are spending more money, which means, of course, that you get paid out more from YouTube in the sort of busy holiday periods. The first one being sort of around Christmas, like November and December. And then again, in summer, it really picks up too. So that's when you're going to see the most income from YouTube Content ID. And then sort of this kind of period, January, February, March, it starts dying down again a bit because advertisers are spending less money. But by and large, you'll see that the general trend is that you're making more and more and more passive income, and it's all just snowballing over time. Now, of course, there's other passive income that you can earn too, and one of those is royalties. Do you guys collect royalties? Do any of you producers already collect royalties? Are you maybe a member of a PRO or something like that? Let me know real quick. So the way that royalties work is that every time that your music gets played on the internet, or on the radio, or on TV, or it gets performed live at a live show, then you're actually due royalties on top of any kind of licensing monies that you already received. So this is pretty cool because as well as artists, you can also license your music, for example, as production music for use in movies and TV shows and advertisements. And then every single time that that particular TV show or the advertisement gets played, you will get royalties paid out to you. Pretty sweet, right? I see Adrian is with BMI. Jeep says he's with ASCAP. So it's good to see that a bunch of you producers are already being proactive and you already signed up to a performance rights organization. So, of course, the most efficient way that you can get paid out royalties is by joining a PRO. It's not the only way, but it's definitely the easiest and the most efficient way. So, for example, in the US, that would be BMI or ASCAP. In the UK, that would be the PRS, or if you're in Germany, that would be the GEMA, for example. And each one of these kind of has their own upsides and downsides. For me personally, right now, I'm with ASCAP because they actually pay out slightly better rates for TV usage, and I have a lot of beats on TV. So for me, that's preferable. And also, they have slightly better customer service, in my opinion. But I know a bunch of producers have BMI, and they're very happy with them too. So if you really want to get into the TV licensing and movie licensing game, by the way, I would highly recommend that you find a really good rep or a really good agency to sort of push your catalog to the TV stations and the content creators and stuff like that, because it's really hard to build up a network and try and get your music placed if it's just you and you have zero connections or zero network to that specific industry, because obviously it's a completely different ballgame than it is selling to artists. Okay. And when you're looking for a good rep or a good agency, I really recommend that you find an independent rep or a boutique agency, meaning a smaller agency, because they're going to be much more engaged and actively try and seek placements for you than, for example, a huge major rep or like a massive agency, people like Taxi or Pump Audio, which you might have heard of, because they obviously have tens of thousands of producers and artists all in their system. So they're not really going to actively look for placements for you as a new producer. That makes sense, right? Okay, so if you're going to benefit from royalty income, then of course you need to make sure that you always provide your clients with your registration information. So that would be your CAE or your IPI registration number. So make sure that you include that in your license contract. And if you know that an artist or a company are going to be releasing a project with your music in it, then you just want to catch up with them and make sure that they've registered the song correctly so that you're going to be paid out the royalties. Because obviously if you're not in the system and your registration information is nowhere to be found, then those royalties can't be paid out to you. Okay, so just to give you guys a little insight into what a royalty payout actually looks like. So usually these happen on a quarterly basis. Here's a quarterly royalty statement that I had back in 2013 when I was with CSAC actually. And you can see that for this particular payout, I had a lot of beats playing on sort of cheesy reality TV shows. For some reason, they really dig our beats, but there you go. Whatever pays the bills, right? But yeah, we had a bunch of music on like Tia and Tamara and like T.I. and Tiny and stuff like that on VH1 and MTV shows and stuff like that. And you can see every single time that this particular episode is shown across the US, we get paid royalties. Individual payout might not look like a lot. You know, it might be like $2 or $3, but this is page 1 of about 30, okay? So by the time you get to page 30, all of these payments actually, you know, amount to something really substantial. So if you have your beats or your music in TV shows, that can actually be a very big royalty check. And by the same token, if you have a beat placed in a big time movie, for example, I had one placed at Universal back in 2013, that can be a huge royalty check, usually all at once when, you know, the movie hits the cinema. So here's a $27,000 royalty check for that particular placement. So obviously that's a nice thing to wake up to. All right. So far we talked a lot about active income. We talked about how you can grow your income through licensing music. And we also talked about how you can make additional income through passive income. So I hope you found that insightful. But really, here's what it comes down to. And this is secret number 3, okay? How do you get to sell your music and make passive income right now, fast? So as much as, you know, I've talked about different marketing tactics. I've talked about selling to target groups and stuff like that. What it really comes down to, of course, principally is quality. And in a way, I guess this is kind of secret number 1, because if you don't have the right music quality, then of course it's going to be really hard for you to start selling licenses, to start having people click on your YouTube videos and buy your stuff. So how do you blow up as a music producer? Of course, in order to build a brand fast and make really, really good money as a music producer, quality stands above everything else. That makes sense, right? You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can have all the best marketing. You can be spending thousands on Facebook ads. You can have huge drive and determination. But unfortunately, if you have poor quality production, of course, it's very unlikely that you're going to get any views or any sales at all. So the most important asset that you actually own as a music producer is absolutely the melodies and the sounds that you can create. And a good producer, of course, can work with any kind of digital audio workstation, but any producer in the world is only ever going to be as good as the sounds and the harder virtual instruments that he or she uses to produce. So if you really want to maximize your revenue potential, you should always, of course, make sure that your sound quality is on point and the very best that it can be. And of course, you should always try and compose your own music with high quality presets, or if you're a sample-based producer, you want to use 100% royalty-free sounds and samples. Because unfortunately, with YouTube's Content ID and also with any kind of placement on TV and movies, they will not accept any kind of sampled material. So it's really important that you create your own melodies, that you compose stuff, or at least if you're sample-based, that you use 100% royalty-free sample collections or cleared samples or something like that when you're composing. So for me personally, I don't use factory default sounds at all, from the sort of standard FL Studio to the standard Pro Tools sounds. I actually use very little hard equipment these days. Just a laptop. You can see my setup here on the left. Just a laptop and a MIDI controller. I actually have a Korg Triton, but when I'm on the run or on the move, I'm just using my my MPK Mini just to compose ideas on the quick. And then the only other thing you really need is perhaps a good sound card or audio interface, and of course some good speakers or headphones to do your mixing and stuff like that. So for me, what I really use is a ton of sort of sounds and royalty-free samples and loops and really good drum sounds. And I try and sort of constantly update my hard drive. So right now you can see a snapshot here. I have something like 270 gigabytes of drum sounds, of samples and stuff like that. And these are all obviously not factory default sounds. These are all compilations that I collected over the years, and I'm constantly going through and checking what I'm actually using. So basically, even the best studio engineer in the entire world can't turn poor quality sounds into high quality music. It doesn't matter how gifted you are. If your foundation sucks, if you're using shitty sounds, then you can be the best composer in the entire world and the best mixing and audio engineer, but it's still going to sound crappy in the end. Now, I know a bunch of producers constantly email me and send me messages asking me what sounds I'm using personally. So just for you guys, you're welcome to sort of write these down if you want, but I thought I'd just kind of reveal the kind of stuff that I've been using recently. So feel free to look these up if you want. These are absolutely incredible kits that I personally use. When it comes to kind of instant inspiration, like I mentioned to you guys, I'm actually traditionally a sample-based producer. So I like my samples, but obviously I don't just use record samples. I use composed melodies, which are royalty-free. And I love, for example, the 2 Deep sample packs. There's one called Crate Diggers. He also has the Dope Samples series. And these are kind of, they sound just like original record samples. They sound just like movie soundtracks, but they're fully composed and royalty-free. So that's really cool. So if I'm looking for instant inspiration, just, every producer sometimes has beat block. I'm sure you guys have experienced that too, where you're sitting in front of a keyboard and no matter how much you're playing or thinking, nothing dope is coming out. So actually using some samples or some little sound snippets can be a great jumping off point to a great beat. I also really enjoy the Machine Masters kits. They have a really dope one called Trapanese, which is like the sample collection of Oriental themed trap music. Very, very cool and very current. And I also love their Ghetto Gospel series. They're very good. When it comes to drums, a good drum kit can make the world of difference. So if you have a sound and if you have a beat and it sounds kind of mediocre, if you just cycle through drums and find some upgraded drum sounds, that can instantly transform a mediocre beat into a really hot beat. So for me, drums is one of the most important elements in beat production, hands down. And actually, funnily enough, over the years, I've become sort of known for my drum sounds. And some of the ones that I use from other producers is, for example, the Steve Lawrence kits. He has a really dope one called Soul Trappin'. There's also the Trap Dreams drum kit, which I like a lot. It has some really great 808s and snares and stuff for trap music. I absolutely love the Jules Jaden series. So if you guys don't remember as well, I'm actually giving you guys a free Jules Jaden drum kit and contact library at the end of this presentation. So you can kind of convince yourselves how great the quality is of his drums. But he also has a series called Trapped in Love, which were super bestsellers across the whole internet, and producers love them. I see loads of people using them in the studio. And also, I really like Hellfire Beats. He has a collection called UAD Drums. And of course, Hellfire Beats has a ton of huge major placements. And by the way, guys, I've been in the studio with a ton of major producers. I network with many producers, people like Superstar, Johnny Giuliano, and stuff like that. And they all use some kind of sounds and loops and presets. They all have their go-to kits, and some of these are actually what they use as well. When it comes to like sounds and loops and maybe even MIDI banks and stuff like that, there's some really cool ones as well by, for example, Bang Bang Productions. He makes some great stuff. And I absolutely love the Producer Loops kits too. Producer Loops has some of the most high quality sounds and samples, especially for electronic producers if you're into EDM and house. but also sort of modern R&B and hip hop and stuff like that. And when it comes to preset banks, I actually use the Silent One VST a lot. Do you guys know Silent? Do you guys use that too? I use Silent One a lot. I also use Contact a lot, which is a Native Instruments VST. And I just have a ton of great presets for those that I use over and over again. So shout out to any Silent One users out there. I guess what you can say is something like the industry's dirty little secret is that most world-renowned producers do actually use high-quality sound banks. They use construction kits, drum kits, and VSTs and stuff like that to make their music sound as good as it does. So you can believe me when I say that every single time a high-end producer goes to a high-end studio, they're not recording every single kick drum and every single 808 and every single snare and stuff like that live. Okay, that would just be ridiculous and silly. Every single major producer has their go-to sounds and kits that they love, and they're also constantly updating their sounds. So how do I know that? Well, basically because I've been in the studio with many of them, and I know many of them personally. All right. So basically, if you want to become a top league music producer, then of course you need top league sounds. You need the best of the best. You can't make do with average factory default settings in FL Studio or Pro Tools or something like that. So why does it matter having quality sounds? Because basically, when you have professional sounds, your music, of course, is going to sound better. It's the foundation of the very music production. If you have a shaky foundation, then the end result isn't going to be great. Of course, also, it matters because your music is going to gain more attention because it sounds better, and that means you're going to get more views online. And in turn, that means that more people are going to buy licenses for your music. And of course, also, you're going to get more passive income from people wanting to stream your music, to use your music in videos, and so on. And of course, more people are going to use your music, so you get paid more as well. Comes down to then what I'm sort of building towards is that better sounds absolutely equals bigger revenue. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope you can feel me on that.